learn more. Yeah.
Then I won't spend too much time on these intro slides if everyone here is very familiar with Doug, but obviously it's a free community that's aimed at users, implementers, and resellers of Microsoft Biz apps. And I can't believe there's already over 47,000 members now. That's insane. This community just continues to grow. And we have those meetup leader calls once a month, and Madison shares where we're at for what growth we've had for new members. And it's just every month it just continues to climb, which is pretty cool. So this what we're participating in today is a Doug meetup. So this is these happen either in person or virtually, different meetup groups based on either region or topic, such as today's marketing professional one. There's also the in-person DynamicsCon conference that happens in Vegas next year in May. The forums, I think, is kind of the OG of Doug, and that's where there's online discussion forums. There's webinars, there's Team Up, there's the YouTube channel, and there's the mentorship program as well. So things just continue to grow with Doug. And if you work in this industry, there's a lot of different ways that you can get involved. The regional events, so there's, let's see, Denver and Dublin just happened. So we've got Dallas coming up on December 17th. And we've got Tampa coming up in January. And then we were just talking about the mega meetup, which is happening in Montreal on September 16th. And then, of course, there's a regional coming up in Europe in Copenhagen, and that's a few weeks away. Madison, are you going to that one?
Oh, yes, I'll be there. I'm leaving on Monday.
Amazing.
and going to Texas right after that. So
yeah.
if you're interested, I'll be there.
Packed calendar.
And
there is early bird pricing going on right now for DynamicsCon in Vegas. So if you want to use that QR code there, you can secure that early bird pricing. And this is one of the, obviously, the biggest Dynamics user group event of the year, and just a really great opportunity to continue learning and to connect with everyone. And I think we are probably a few weeks away from the speaker submissions opening up as well, if I'm correct on that.
Yes, you are correct. I don't have the exact date right in front of me, but I can send it in our chat once I find it.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about how to bring excitement to B2B marketing and how we can kind of look at what some of those trends are that we would spot in B2C marketing and how we can take that and apply it to B2B as well. So my name is Kelly Mazur. I'm one of the meetup leaders of this group, and I work as the marketing director at Evenica, and Evenica is a Microsoft partner. They've been a Microsoft partner for over 20 years, and they work in the commerce space, and I'm really lucky to lead up that marketing department and have a lot of say in kind of how we're approaching our marketing campaigns and how we're going to market with Microsoft. So I'll be pulling on some of that experience as we talk through these ideas today. So the agenda today, we're going to talk a little bit about what that B2B marketing challenge is. We're going to talk about why we should be bringing B2B or B2C trends into B2B. We're going to look at those trends and we're going to translate those trends into B2B action. And then we're going to have an open discussion. And we're such a small group right now. Actually, Monica, if you wouldn't mind keeping an eye on the waiting room, if anyone pops up, I might not see it. But come off mute anytime, chime in, have a two-way conversation here so we can kind of discuss more ideas here. So I think one of the biggest B2B marketing challenges that we face is that we've got a really long and complex sales cycle. So there's multiple decision makers, and it can take a really lengthy evaluation process to get there. So I know if I look at my experience in Evenica, it's not uncommon for our sales cycle to be 9 to 12 months to close a deal. And so that can be a really complex thing when you're looking at how you're going to market and do lead generation towards that. It's also a pretty crowded market. There is a lot of partners, and there can be, in a lot of cases, there can be a lot of partners doing very similar things. So it can be difficult to kind of stand out amongst that. And we do see a lot of partners that probably look to Microsoft or the larger partners as a bit of a guiding path of how they should lead their marketing. And while that's a great strategy to apply to have that alignment with Microsoft, it does lead to a lot of very similar content that you see on LinkedIn from same partners over and over. We've also got really technical storytelling to do. We are dealing with very technical solutions, and it can be kind of difficult to find ways to communicate that in concise and clear ways within our marketing. And of course, we have to also prove to our higher ups the ROI that we're getting across different channels. And I don't know about you guys, but it can be very difficult to track some of these campaigns and see where a lead comes from, and seeing, because it's just so different than what we're facing if you were working in B2C, where you can kind of track an email campaign to a click to a purchase and kind of see that purchase go all the way through. When you're working with these longer, complex sales cycles, it can be hard to track that back. So I think some of the reasons that it's so important for us to be looking at what B2C is doing right and why we should be bringing it in is because we can humanize our brands that way, which is something that isn't often seen within the B2B tech sales. I think there's different ways that we can raise attention and differentiate ourselves from our competitors and the other partners in our space. I think that and I know Sam Bush and Jacob Pepper have done some sessions recently talking about how Gen Zs are becoming a larger portion of decision makers, and millennials are the highest percentage right now of decision makers within these B2B companies. And they're expecting a certain expectation, a certain shopping experience that is closer to what they would have in their personal lives with B2C. So we need to evolve to match that expectation. And also, B2C is doing a really good job of getting that trust and earning that engagement with customers as well, and doing it fast. So that's something that we can learn from as well. So I think I've got 6 different trends here. So it's B2C marketing trends, and then how I think we can apply that in a B2B world. So the first one is, and we're seeing a ton of this, is video first. It's short form and creator style content. So B2C brands are doubling down on short form content, and we're seeing this obviously on Instagram and TikTok. We're seeing it on YouTube Shorts, and we're seeing some of it on LinkedIn as well. So I think, if we look at this study here from Search Engine Journal, it's showing that in B2B, LinkedIn shows that 78% of the content that includes video in their mix, those are significantly more trusted and well-known brands. So if we can start taking that style of short video that you're used to seeing in your everyday life scrolling Instagram or TikTok, and you can apply that kind of framework to your LinkedIn videos, that's a really great way to take some of that content that you probably already have. So for me, I'm looking at what can I do with webinars that we've recorded in the last couple of months? How can I clip that down into literally a 15-second clip? So just pulling out these key little phrases and making those into mini short form videos that we can share on LinkedIn. And if we have an hour-long webinar, it would be nothing to pull 20, 15-second clips out of that and pepper that into your marketing calendar for LinkedIn, and kind of have that consistent short form video throughout your monthly or your quarterly content calendar. There were some ideas I found here for B2B application. I liked the quick founder moment. So this would be, instead of like recycling a webinar, what about some quick little clips of your founders or your executives to kind of talk about what they're doing behind the scenes, or micro case studies as well? So could you maybe look at what some of the top performing case studies are on your website, and can you create little short form videos talking about those wins and those stories? And the good thing about that is, if you have, like we at Evenica, what we'll do is we have an approval process with our customers when we're making these case studies, and I'll just put it right in that documentation, have them sign off on us being allowed to create video based on that. And then event recaps or testimonials. We've seen some people do this recently at our some of the regionals and some of the events that we've had recently with Doug. I have seen, was it Tiffany Allen? There was somebody who was walking around and creating this little short form video where she was just getting people to share like literally a 10-second clip about like what that day meant to them or what they were getting from that day. And I just thought it was fabulous, and it made for really good LinkedIn content as well. So going into our second B2C trend, and Madison or Monica, if you guys don't mind, I think there's a few people in the lobby that I can't access.
I can't see them.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, weird. Okay, one sec. Let me see. I might lose my screen for a sec. There we go. Okay, so going into our second B2C trend here, obviously something we're seeing again on Instagram and TikTok is a lot of influencers and content creation, and finding different niches and authentic voices within that. This is huge in B2C marketing. It's nothing new. We've been seeing this for years now. Lots of brand trips, lots of press releases where they're sending press packages out to influencers as well and getting them to film influencer style collaboration to kind of earn that trust and credibility based on using that influencer's current audience. So this is something we've been seeing for years in B2C marketing. So how could we bring that into a B2B application? I think there's a lot of people, especially if you were to explore within the Dynamics user group community. I think we do have a lot of micro influencers within this world that you could look to create content with. So if you've already been creating short form video or different pieces of content for LinkedIn for your company, and it's probably, if you're, anything like me, it is using the voice of the company. So I'm using, often a lot of people on my sales team are the talking heads of these LinkedIn videos or these little snippets that I'm filming. But how could you collaborate with people outside of your company that are maybe not competitors? Maybe it's a partner you work with. Maybe it is a kind of more neutral party, like somebody from Doug or within the Doug community, or maybe it's even, if you're a partner, maybe it's a user. So how can you create videos and content with people that are B2B influencers within our area? So that, I think, also you could look at the list of Microsoft MVPs and pull from that as well. I think that, if we look at the work that a lot of us do with MS Dynamics World and those panels that Rick McCutcheon used to host, and we would always have like 3 or 4 people, guest speakers on it, kind of all coming together from different partners or different companies. I think that was a step in the right direction on kind of bringing the B2C trend of influencer and content creators into the B2B space. So I think that's something that should definitely be continued to be explored more. And I think it's a great way to earn trust with your potential customers. So moving on to trend number 3, personalized at scale and value-led messaging. So I think I've got these slides backwards. Okay, so when we're looking at personalization within B2C, it's a lot of user-generated content and brand value storytelling. So we can do personalized throughout these different digital touch points based on the information that we could be tracking. So for me, as a HubSpot user at Eventica, we're tracking these email campaigns, we're tracking the opens, we're tracking when they go over to our website, what are they clicking on, what pages are they visiting, and we're using that to personalize what workflows we might be putting them into. So that's, I think, very similar to how it's being done in the B2C world. And I think that there is a lot that can be done there. And for me, I've also started segmenting my list based on if it is a potential customer, is it a Microsoft partner, or is it actually, for me, a lot of Microsoft employees as well are viewing our content. And looking, those are my 3 kind of main segments that I've created based on our audience and who's engaging with our content, and just trying to personalize that. So now I've got, if I'm sending out a monthly email campaign, there'll be 3 versions of the same messaging that's just tailored a little bit to each of those 3 segments. So I think that's a very, very easy way for us to take that personalization trend from B2C and bring that over to B2B. And I think a lot of marketers I would assume, are already doing that. But if you're not, it's definitely an easy first step to take. So getting into trend number 4, AI-powered automation in gen content. And I think that we're seeing a lot more AI being used in B2C, but it's interesting that in my research, that this kept coming up as a B2C trend, because I would actually argue that this might be one of the few marketing trends that might have actually started more so in B2B than it did in B2C, because we're so familiar with this technology. But I think one thing we can look at is, if the use of AI in marketing maybe started with B2B, how is B2C doing it right? And I think in a lot of ways, if we look at B2C companies and if we look at influencers and content creators, they're really using it to pump out higher volume of content at a faster rate, and using it to repurpose existing content as well. So I think that's a great way for us to look at it. And there's a lot of different tools out there that we can use for that. But I think one of the ones that's working really well for me right now is email sequences. So taking something like a white paper. So we created a white paper recently with MSDW, and it was, 4 to 6 pages long of content, of text content, plus some graphics added in there. So really meaty amount of content. So popping that into Copilot and seeing how we can create a 4 email sequence out of that on the same topic It's a no-brainer. It's easy to do. You get kind of a breakdown of that. Of course, my rule with AI has always been review and refine. So then we got to go in and make sure that we haven't lost our brand voice in that. But it's just another way that we can borrow from B2C, which might have borrowed from B2B in the first place. Trend number 5, live stream, virtual avatars, and social commerce. So I'm not sure about the virtual avatars. In my opinion, I don't know that that ever really took off the same way. God, was it 3, 4 years ago where there was all that talk of meta and the metaverse? We never really saw that go anywhere, either in B2C or B2B. But I do think live streaming is something that is quite common in B2C marketing that we're not seeing in B2B. And I think it just kind of gives this raw, authentic way to communicate with your customers. And I think that there's a really great opportunity to do that in B2B, specifically the live stream. I think you could do that behind the scenes at events. So even if you were attending a Doug meetup in person, maybe showing, with permission of the speaker, maybe showing a snippet of one of the sessions that you're attending, maybe even chatting with that person, or maybe you're the speaker yourself and kind of looking at, okay, if I was to pick a 5-minute or 15-minute section of this presentation that I wanted to show online, live streamed, which one would it be? And then kind of having a team to work with you to get that up and running in the moment. I think you could also do that at conferences. I think it'd be cool to I think we might have even had someone do this at DynamicsCon, do some live streaming on the expo floor and having real-time chats with partners as they're walking by and users as well, and kind of getting that boots on the ground conversation going about what's working, what's not working, what they love about, whatever Dynamics product you may specialize in, and kind of having those real conversations, maybe a little prep so you're going to get the answers you like and you're going to have a conversation that's beneficial to you. But with all of the live events that we do within this channel, I think there's a lot of opportunity to kind of bring that trend to B2B. And the last trend I have here is community-driven and purposeful experiences. So I think within the B2B world, especially within like fashion, beauty, fitness is a big one. You see all of these in-person activations at larger events, as well as pop-ups. I don't know about you guys, but I live in Toronto, Canada, and this summer is just so busy in the city, and there's just tons of activations and pop-ups and fun things popping up in parks, on the sidewalk, outside of shopping malls, of all of these B2C companies just kind of either sampling their products or running like fun events or with live music or whatever they're doing. And I think there's a really good opportunity for us to do that as well outside of just the regular conferences that we do. And I think it just kind of helps to earn that trust when you've got more face-to-face connection with your audience. So you could do micro events or roundtables. I think something that Dynamics User Group has done a really good job of facilitating is that when we were all in Chicago for DynamicsCon, Doug encouraged all of the meetup leaders to host mini meetups within the conference. So if any of you were in Chicago with me, we had a marketing professionals lunch where we all got together one day, which was kind of a micro event that we organized within that conference. Another example of that would be if you're heading to a conference, maybe DynamicsCon in Vegas, and you've got a good number of customers there. Maybe you have a customer appreciation evening, a cocktail hour, maybe you host them for a dinner. I know that I often will take any of my partners that I do a lot of business with, we'll do a dinner with them. So just kind of looking at how you can have these in-person events and maybe tacking that on to a larger event where more people are going to be attending, because I think a lot of us are in a similar industry where a lot of our customers and partners are certainly not within the same city. So unless you're more regional, where you can kind of have these in-person events in your own city and know that you've got customers and partners within a short driving distance, I think taking advantage of these conferences is a great way to do that. And then how are you going to kind of take that event and not only just make that event fun, but how are you going to amplify those stories? And I think that's where you can get into the live streaming again, or the short form video that we talked about in trend 1. So those are the trends I had to talk to you guys about, some ideas to kind of get everyone brainstorming about, how to take what's working in B2C marketing and bring that to B2B. So want to open it up to you guys. We've got an open discussion here. just some questions here that don't have to be answered, but just maybe to get the brain flow going and get people off mute. What are some things that you guys are struggling with your marketing? What are some B2C trends you've seen that you've tried? What's working for you guys? What's not working? I'd love to hear from all of you guys.
I know, Kelly, you were talking about email segmentation, and I tend to go deep on segmentation because email works in a lot of cases so well. And so one of the things that we do is not only segment by partner or end user, but go further than that and even say like, oh, we met them at a specific event, or what industry are they in, or what title do they have. We even go so far as to what stage of the journey do we think that they're in. So we I tend when I'm doing email marketing to make it, to create a bunch of segments. And I know that a lot of the time, a lot of these email service providers cap the number of segments that you can do depending on your, you know, the platform you're on and what your price range is. But the deeper you can go on that segmentation, the more personalized it feels, for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that kind of jogged something in my memory. I go to NRF, which is the National Retail Federation conference in New York every January. And there's one tech company there called Zipline. I actually can't tell you what they do, but I know that their branding is hot pink and their emails are fantastic. I'm probably not a potential customer of theirs, and there's probably not a fit for us to work together. But I engage with them at NRF every single year. It's been many years in a row now that I've engaged with them at their booth because their booth is just the best. And they have me segmented because I only get their emails regarding NRF. I do not get emails from them the rest of the year.
Interesting.
So
And
that is
I mean,
certainly event based.
yeah, and some people would even say that you don't want to over segment, like you want, for in that case specifically, they should probably also have you on their general newsletter list,
Yeah.
because then you don't know what you don't know about them.
Yeah.
If you don't have that as well. So just make sure that when you are segmenting, they're also on a larger distribution so that they can get more insight into kind of some of the other stuff that you're working on.
And Monica, have you found a very clean way to have people on multiple lists and make sure that they're not getting duplicates of content?
That's difficult.
Mhm.
You want to make sure that, I mean, actually, it's not that difficult. Depending on your email service provider, you should be able to say, if they receive this, then don't send them this.
Right.
Like if then situations.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it just, it depends on how your system is set up. And I'd have to look at it specifically, but it can be tough. That's why I think if you're hyper segmenting, just make sure they're on at least one general email.
Yeah.
And that way you don't worry too much about them getting duplicate content.
Yeah. Good call out.
Erica, you wrote in the comments AEO GEO / AI. AEO/GEO/AI. Can you define AEO for me? Because I don't think I know what that is.
Yeah, so there's like way too many acronyms in the market right now. Thank you so much, Kelly, for hosting this. It was really good, and I'm sorry I was late. I was
all good
in traffic. Yeah, so they're all the same. No, the industry hasn't picked one. So that's answer engine optimization, generative engine optimization, or AI for SEO. That's kind of the three terms that the market is going with right now, which is confusing. But I mean, if we all met a couple years ago when I started speaking at DynamicsCon, and I talked about AI and I talked about us testing AI. So since then, I mean, we've been doing tons more tests, and Annette is on this call who's doing a lot of that for us. But in short, it's basically like figuring out how to optimize specifically for answer engines for AI chatbots rather than for search. And so
Awesome.
we're doing a lot of like, how do we answer for prompts? How do we answer for, when people are asking for multiple things in a singular chat, and like how do we get that brand and that answer packed together. So that's actually what's been exciting, because we've been testing it for long enough, is that we're seeing leads come in directly from ChatGPT. We're seeing, direct leads from Claude and Perplexity, and maybe less from Copilot, but yeah. So that's something that's been working, but I would say like it's really been a long-term play for us.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I have to jump to a potential
No
client
problem.
call.
We appreciate that input though. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks so much for hosting, Kelly.
Good to see you, Erica.
Any other questions or, maybe ideas that you have or anything that's working for you guys in your marketing right now? I would say when I look at 2025 so far, what has worked the best for us has been the in-person events. We have really capitalized on that this year. It's been very lucrative for us. And then how we stay in touch with them digitally after those events, which has been our email marketing and our content that we share on LinkedIn. And that's been very useful for us this year.
I think, Kelly, your case study thing, and you also presented this last year at Partner Marketing event, part of the Doug presentation. One of the things that you did there was on case studies, and that case study amplification, I think, is super important, because you can take one case study and you can make like a ton of different content just off of that one thing. And I think just in general, making sure that any content that you create, especially longer form content, figuring out other ways to amplify that is super important, and making one piece of content have so many different legs and extend just past that one date of publication. So creating, as you said, with MSDW, creating 4 or 5 other pieces of content that you can use on social media, in your blog, maybe a blog series, that all of that points to that longer piece, without giving away the farm, obviously. But taking pieces of it and making it bite-sized and interesting so that people want to learn more. I think that's really important, because again, we are all marketers, and marketers traditionally have to do a lot with very little.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And our most recent case study that we published, I actually worked with MSDW to get that turned into an article on their website. It ended up being an email blast that the team at Marketing Copilot put together for me. And the success of that customer story has been so well received by our audience that now we're, maybe exploring how we could do in-person events with that customer and have them maybe join us on stage at some conferences next year to talk about that case study and talk about that story.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we can end this early, and I can give you guys half an hour of your day back. You can pop your email in the chat if you want me to send these slides to you, and then the recording of this will end up on the Doug YouTube channel in a couple days as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kelly.
Awesome. Thanks for joining, guys.
All right. Bye.